Okay, so hi guys, in this video we're going to be going over the cosine rule. So in the last video we went over the sine rule, and the sine rule was basically where we took a non-right angle triangle and we expressed a relationship between the angles and sides. So its sine rule, this was that sine A over B, is equal to sine B over B, which is equal to sine C over C. The relationship between the angle and the sides were equal, basically. But the cosine rule, which is what we're doing today, wait, let me just change my razor. Okay, so the cosine rule, which is what we will be covering today, states that a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc and the cosine of a. So what this means is if you take these values over here, so this side length squared is equal to this side length squared plus this side length squared minus 2 times this times the cosine of the remaining angle. Essentially, the opposite angle to the side you're trying to find would be the angle that you would use. And obviously it's called the cosine rule because cosine is being used here. So let's go over some examples of this. Okay, so I've just written the cosine rule at the side, but we're going to look at this problem over here. So we're going to try to find the side length x using the information we're given. So first we have to identify that what our B, C, and angle A is. Because we know that in this case, x will be our A. So let me just write this down. A equals x. Then our B would equal, well, any of these other side lengths would do. As long as you have the other two side lengths, you can use the law of the cosine rule, or law of cosines, as it's also called. B equals 5. That means C has to equal 7 since the other side length. And then we only need the angle A, which is the opposite to the angle that we're trying to find. This case, that happens to be 44, which is very, very coincidental, but also it's useful when we're doing this problem. It's 44 degrees. So let's just substitute all our information into the equation. So x squared is equal to 5 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 5 times 7 times the cosine of 44. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my calculator, because instead of working this out manually, which you can't anyway because you have cosine of 44, which is not one of the special angles that we covered in the unit circle video. So this would equal, so 5 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 5 times 7 times the cosine of 44. That gives us 23.64621 ... And we square root that to get x, and obviously we'll take the positive value since side lengths can only be positive. So let's square root this, and we get 4.86, which is the same as 4.9. So this is 4.9 units long, and we were able to just use the cosine rule to do so. Let's go over a couple more examples. Okay, so now let's take this triangle here instead of the other one. So we're given side lengths 5, 6, and 7. This time we're asked to find the angle. So since we only have one angle in the cosine rule, we can say that that's our A. So let A equal x. Now, obviously the side lengths are represented by A, B, and C, lowercase a, b, and c. So we're just going to write those down. So A, let's let that equal the opposite angle to the opposite side length to the angle, which happens to be 6. B has to be one of the other side lengths. It doesn't really matter. Could be 5. And C is equal to 7. So now we just have to input this into the equation. So we get 6 squared is equal to 5 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 5 times 7 times the cosine of x. So if we rearrange this, we get cosine of x is equal to 6 squared minus 5 squared minus 7 squared over minus 2 times 5 times 7. So cosine of x is equal to, I'm just going to put that into the calculator. So that's 6 squared minus 5 squared minus 7 squared divided by negative 70. And I'm going to do the inverse of cosine of that. So what we have right now is the inverse of cosine of 0.542857143. And we get, so I'm just going to write that. So 0.52428574143. So x, if we do the inverse of cosine, is equal to 57.1 degrees. Okay, here's our final question. So actually with this one, there are two ways of doing it. One of them is better than the other in my opinion if you're doing it with only your green calculator. So let's start with the first way. The first way is just to use cosine rule normally. So we have an angle and we have two sides on opposite sides and we have our final side. So what this means is that since we've got the angle, that will have to be our A, capital A. So A is equal to 27 degrees. The opposite would be A, which is equal to 15. And then B and C can be the other two sides respectively. So B equals 18, C equals X. And if you just plug it into the formula, we get 15 squared is equal to 18 squared plus X squared minus 2 times 18 times X and the cosine of 27. Now, if we simplify this further, so 15 squared minus 18 squared is negative 99, so you get negative 99 is equal to X squared, and then minus 36 times cosine 27X, so 36 times cosine 27 is 32.08, so we're going to write this as minus 32.08x. And now we can actually see this as a quadratic, so if we bring the 99 to the other side, we get x squared minus 32.08x plus 99 is equal to 0. And we can actually use a quadratic formula to solve this, or we could graph it if we had GDC. But I feel like this is not the best method in my opinion, because you don't want to use quadratic formula for non-whole numbers. It's not very nice otherwise. So what we're going to do is actually do a two-step process. We're going to first use sine rule and then cosine rule. Sine rule as in because we have an angle on the opposite side, and we have another side length. So that means we can find out if this is, let's say this is y degrees, we can find out what y is. So sine y over 18 would be equal to sine 27 over 15. So y would have to be the inverse of sine of 18 sine 27 over 15 for this reason. And based on this, let me just put that to the calculator. Inverse of sine of 18 sine 27 over 15 is equal to 33 degrees. So I'm just going to replace 33 over here. If this is 33, we can figure out this angle over here, because the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180. So 180 minus 27 minus 33 will give us the last angle, which is 120 degrees. And now we have all the information we need to complete this, because we've got two known sides and an angle in between them. So in this case, let's let A equal 120 degrees. Our lowercase a equal the opposite, which is x. And b can equal the other two sides, so 18 and c equals 15. And now let's solve. So x squared is equal to 18 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 18 times 15 times the cosine of 120, which is equal to, I'm just going to put this into my calculator directly, plus 15 squared minus 2 times 18 times 15 times the cosine of 120. So that's equal to 819. So x is equal to the square root of 819, which is equal to 28.62 units, or 28.6 units. And we would have gotten the same result if we did the other way. It's just nicer the way we've done it here. It's a bit more systematic. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope it helped, and I'll see you in the next one.